Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today I'm going to work on how do you repair a reel that is frozen. In this case, I'm using a Penn Seaboy 190. Some of you may have seen my earlier video where I purchased this online as a parts repair reel, and this one is stuck. Okay, this is not moving at all, and it's clearly frozen. So how does a reel get frozen? Most of the time it's a result of two things. The first being that it hasn't been properly maintained and oiled, kept lubed and the like. And then the second type of reason for it is it's probably got some salt water or corrosive activity in there, and it was left just to sit idly for some time. So I'm going to take you through this. I've seen this on a lot of different Penn reels. It can be repaired, but it needs to be repaired with caution, and you need to be aware of what the issue is. So in this case, the spool is turning, and usually one of the reasons why a reel freezes is that the spool bearing, which is interconnected to the main drive, seizes on that spool. But let's take this apart and let's see what's going on inside, and then I'll show you how to do that. So I always start by removing the handle first, and I always keep a little parts tray for all of the pieces and parts that I take off of the reels so that I know how to put that back. The handle is held in place by a handle nut, which is secured by a lock screw. It's a little threaded insert in the handle itself. And then the nut is removed with a handle wrench. This is the one that comes with Penn. I have a little industrial size one that services both the smaller reels and the 6.0 reels. It's a little thicker in nature, and it's available commercially if that's something that you're interested in. Okay, so we remove the handle nut. You'll notice I wear a latex glove. I like to do that when I'm opening up reels that I'm not familiar with. One can only guess what the contaminants are. You'll also see me backing the handle off by turning the star drag nut. I like to do it that way rather than to try and wrench it off in another way. And then we now have access to the reel itself. So we're going to remove the side plate screws and see if that spool comes off, and then I'll show you next steps on that. To remove that side plate, it's removing the 6 screws for both the crossbar and the reel seat, and that'll give you access to the internal gearing. Now, one of the things that's interesting at the Seaboy is an entry-level reel in the Penn lines. It was a follow-on. It's always been a Seaboy line, but the early ones were the Seaboy 85, and then this one is the 190, which is a follow-on. A couple of different pieces to note there. This lines up with the Penn Long Beach 65, so it has a little bit of a wider channel in the spool. This one's been upgraded to metal spools, which are nice, but it still has some of the characteristics of the lower end line. Most notably is that the chrome is not very good on the crossbars and the reel seat, although the reel seat is the Long Beach 65 reel seat, and that the side plates are not protected by chrome gearing. Chrome side plates that you would also see on that. So we're going to take that apart, and it was not a seizure there, but it is a seizure here. So looking at this, it's just not been maintained. We're going to take it apart, and we're going to see what the issue may be here, but this one just may be not worth repairing. So in order to take it apart, you're going to remove the 4 main bridge screws. These screws are different. 2 of them up top have a partial threading to them, and the 2 on the bottom have a full threading. Remember that when you go to put the reel back together, because the ones up top with the partial threading actually are a foundation for springs that release the free spool mechanism, and the ones on the bottom are fully threaded screws, and those do not have an effect. If you reverse these screws, then sometimes that spring that rides for the free spool release gets caught up on the threading, and it becomes problematic. So okay, so I noticed that my main gearing is through now, and this is a nice reel. This is actually sharing the bridge with the Jigmaster. It's a bigger geared reel, which I was unaware of. Okay, there's a dog assembly that goes on here. There's a spring, and this is why I wear the latex glove. You can see it's quite greasy and quite a mess. There's a spring and dog assembly, which is the anti-reverse. And then we're on to the gearing itself, and I'm going to guess that that this is what is seized here. It's probably the gear itself is okay, so we'll take the gearing off. These have the drags and the gearing. The drags are new, so this kind of indicates that the reel wasn't used very much. These drags are in excellent condition. This reel would be a high-speed reel, similar to the Jigmaster, and as opposed to the earlier Seaboys, which had the smaller Penn 60 level wind gearing. Okay, and then this is what is seized here. It's seized on the pinion, and that's one of the problems with the newer reels. They don't use brass on the pinions. We're going to see if we can get this to turn at all. We can't. So before we declare that this one is shot, we're going to just apply a little bit of heat to this, and we'll see if we can free it up with heat. So one of the tools in my shop is a butane torch. And I'm just going to move these parts out of the way, and we'll see if we can free that up. If we can free it up and keep this pinion in place, then this can be replaced if this was the problem. A lot of times it's just a matter of getting this to move off, and if you can get this to move off, then you can clean it up with some steel wool, and you can do the proper lubrication of it to keep it running. But this may be a case where this has to be replaced. To me, that's not a problem because I have spare bridges from older reels. And actually I have one right here that shows you where I'm trying to get to with this. So if I need to, I can use this one, which is identical to the current one that we're looking at here. And I have extra pinions here that I could go put that on. But for the purpose of this video, let's see if we can get that to free up with some heat. Now heat is going to free up a couple of different things. It'll free up the pinion gear here. Also, I had mentioned earlier, I thought that the problem with this one would be on the, I see that there's some melting going on here, so this is a good thing. Okay, so let's see what happens here now. So it doesn't take a lot of heat, but it takes some. And I got to get 2 pairs of pliers here because that's hot, right? So you don't want to grab that with your hand right now. And let's see if we can turn that. So I'm not, although I see it's bubble, I'm not seeing turning going on here. So there we go. So this is a matter of just working this thing free, and the next step would be to hit it with a little bit of penetrating oil, continuing to work it free. As you can see, we now have it, at least we have it running. There you go. So this is a matter that this is just not been used very much, and the lack of lubrication in that allowed some early pieces to puzzle up. Another way to work that free is to put the handle back on. Again, remember, this is hot. We just used heat to free it, and we can work it that way. So, and if you want, you can put the nut in there. But for the purposes of illustration, I just wanted to show you that this will work. And what I'm going to do after this sits with the penetrating oil for some time, I'm going to come back and I'm going to take that pinion gear off. I'm going to clean it all up there, and then we'll work from there. So I hope that this has showed you a simple trick on how to free a reel up. And if you have one of these that is problematic, and you have a butane torch, then certainly go right ahead and and put that heat on there, and you will get it to run. And in this case, this is going to work fine after time. So let's end the video here, knowing that there's some more work to be done, but that this reel will be freed up and it will be put back into service. Okay. Thank you for watching this. I hope that the heat is giving you a little indication of another way to help service your reels and put them back into production. And stay tuned. We'll see what we can do in terms of putting this one back completely. Thank you for watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.